In a world full of half-truths and hidden stories, the missing dots connects the facts that others ignore. Here, we ask the questions people are afraid to ask. We challenge the narratives that never get challenged, and we uncover the truth buried between history, faith, and reality. If you're ready to think deeper, question harder, and see the world without filters, welcome to the Missing Dots.
You know, it is really peaceful out here right now.
Yeah, it really is. The evening prayers finished, and it seems like most of the crowds have cleared out.
Just a few people left chatting. The air is finally starting to cool down, too.
Yeah, alhamdulillah for that. It's
Yeah.
the perfect time to just, sit and reflect with you.
Absolutely.
So if you spent any time around the community, you've definitely heard the story of Ashura, right?
Oh.
The fast on the 10th of Muharram.
Oh, yeah. It's a staple. We hear about it every year.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And we always get told this really same, simple version of the story.
Huh.
The narrative is always that the prophet arrives in Medina. He sees the local Jewish tribes fasting to commemorate Moses escaping Pharaoh. And he says, we are closer to Moses than you. And then he just adopts the fast.
Yeah, it's a very clean story. It's this nice unified narrative about shared prophetic heritage.
Well, the thing is, it's almost too clean.
Exactly. When you actually stop taking it at face value and you start checking the timelines or the calendars or the historical records,
Things start getting messy.
very messy. That simple story starts falling apart. I mean, it raises some massive historical paradoxes that most people just completely ignore.
Skeptics definitely don't ignore them, though.
No, they don't. They love pointing this stuff out.
Right. They use these exact paradoxes to claim the whole tradition is just, a historical fabrication. Because the math honestly doesn't work.
Walk me through the math you're looking at.
Okay, so the timeline tells us the prophet arrived in Medina in the month of Rabi al-Awwal.
Right.
And Rabi al-Awwal is the third month of the Islamic calendar.
Correct.
But Ashura is in Muharram, which is the first month.
Yeah, it's month number 1.
So wait, if you just arrived in the third month, how are you suddenly observing a holiday that happens in the first month?
It doesn't make chronological sense.
It doesn't. And the mismatch is even worse when you look at the Jewish traditions.
It's because of the seasons.
Exactly. The Exodus, Moses escaping Pharaoh, that is commemorated with Passover.
Right.
And Passover is a string feast. It's a celebration. But Ashura is an autumn fast.
Yeah, completely different vibe.
And the autumn fast for Jewish communities is Yom Kippur. So the dates, the seasons, the rituals, they're all completely jumbled up.
Well, they look jumbled if we only stare at a modern wall calendar.
Right, which is what we usually do.
Exactly. But to actually find the truth here, we can't just isolate one line of text and say, oh, this is broken.
So where do we start?
We have to look at the stars, honestly, and the ancient languages of the region, and the tribal customs of pre-Islamic Arabia.
That sounds intense.
It is, but it's so much more profound than just a simple clerical error. We basically have to abandon all our modern assumptions about how time worked back then.
Okay, so if the Medinan dates don't make sense, does that mean the story didn't actually start in Medina?
That is the crucial first step. We have to rewind the clock.
To Mecca.
Yes, to Mecca. The fast of Ashura wasn't some spontaneous invention that happened the afternoon he walked into Medina.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Fasting on the 10th of Muharram was already a deeply entrenched practice among the Quraysh.
The pagan Arabs.
Exactly. During the days of ignorance, the Jahiliyyah, they were already doing this.
Hold on, stop there for a second. That feels really counterintuitive to me.
Why is that?
The polytheist Quraysh were fasting on this specific day.
Yes, they were. And we have multiple authentic reports that confirm this. Like, reports from Aisha clearly state that the Quraysh fasted it.
Wow.
And not only that, but the Prophet actually fasted it alongside his community in Mecca years before the migration to Medina was even a thought.
Oh, I had no idea about that. So what did the day mean to the Quraysh?
For them, it wasn't just a manor date on the calendar. It held immense civic weight. It was their day of communal purification.
Like a reset day.
Exactly. Specifically, it was the day they maintained the sanctuary. They would bring out the new kiswa and drape the Kaaba.
Oh.
So it was a day to pause, abstain from normal activities, and reset the sacred space.
I noticed something about the language while looking at the ancient texts, and it bridges this perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
The root word.
Yeah. The Arabic word, Ashura. It literally just derives from the word for 10.
Which cracks the ancient history wide open, honestly.
How so?
If you zoom out and look across all the Semitic languages of that entire era, the Arabic word Ashura is an exact cognate of the Hebrew word Asor.
Asor, which also means the 10th.
Yes. And if you open the Torah,
Hmm.
specifically the book of Leviticus, the day of Yom Kippur is legally referred to as Asur, the 10th day.
Subhanallah. So it's a shared ancient Semitic
It's
term.
not a coincidence at all. It's just a localized pronunciation of the exact same sacred 10th day of fasting and atonement.
Precisely.
But um, this creates a really uncomfortable question for me.
What's that?
Well, if the pagan Quraysh were doing this to honor their own polytheistic traditions, why would the prophet keep doing it?
Hmm.
Isn't that compromising the message? I mean, it feels like moving into an old house that has this terrible, ugly wallpaper.
Okay, I like this analogy.
And you just decide to leave the ugly wallpaper up because it's too much effort to pull it down. Why keep a pagan habit?
I see where you're going with the house analogy, but I actually think you have it reversed.
Reversed how?
It isn't about keeping the ugly wallpaper. It's about recognizing that the house itself, the foundation, was originally built by Abraham.
Oh, I see.
Over centuries, the Quraysh covered those pure original walls with the ugly wallpaper of idolatry.
Right, they added all the pagan stuff on top.
Exactly. So when the prophet kept the fast, he wasn't adopting the wallpaper, he was scraping it off.
To reveal what was underneath.
Yes, to reveal that original, beautiful structural foundation. We really have to understand the concept of Hanafiya here.
Hanafiya, the remnants of the original Abrahamic monotheism.
Yes. The pre-Islamic Arabs didn't just invent their society out of thin air. They were direct descendants of Abraham and Ishmael.
They inherited the Kaaba from them.
They inherited the Kaaba, the concept of pilgrimage, the sacred months, the rites of animal sacrifice.
But things change over time.
Right, sociological drift happens. Over centuries, societies forget the theology behind the rituals.
But they keep doing the physical actions.
Exactly, they preserve the motions.
You know, we do that today.
Oh, all the time.
Like people throw a pinch of salt over their shoulder or they say bless you when someone sneezes.
Right, right.
We do the physical action out of this deeply ingrained cultural habit, but 99% of us have completely forgotten the ancient supernatural theology that started it.
That's a perfect modern parallel. The Quraysh preserved the physical action of the Ashura fast.
So it wasn't a pagan ritual to begin with.
Not inherently, no. It was an ancient Abrahamic practice of purification that just got lost in the noise of polytheism.
So Islam didn't adopt a pagan ritual.
No, the prophet recognized the original Abrahamic foundation and simply purified it.
Okay, that clarifies the Meccan period completely for me. He was reclaiming something pure.
Exactly.
But that actually makes the Medina story even more confusing to me now.
Also,
Well, if he already honored this day in Mecca, and he already knew what it was, why was it this major revelation to see the Jewish tribes fasting in Medina? What actually happened when those two groups met?
To figure out what happened when they met, you actually have to look up at the sky.
The sky.
Yeah. We have to talk about how time was physically measured in 7th century Arabia. Specifically, this practice called nasi, or intercalation.
I really want to spend some time on this, because if you're listening to this on your phone right now, your calendar just syncs automatically to an atomic clock.
Time is invisible to us now.
Totally invisible. But back then, it was deeply physical.
Very physical. The pre-Islamic Arabs used a lunisolar calendar.
Meaning they tracked the moon.
Right. Now, if you just use a strict lunar calendar, your year falls short of the solar year by about 11 days.
Which is why if you observe Ramadan today, you see it moving backward through the seasons.
Exactly. It's in the summer for a few years, then the spring, then the winter.
Right. But the Quraysh couldn't afford to let their months drift like that.
No, their survival depended on trade.
Ah, the trade routes.
Yes. They needed their sacred months, when fighting was forbidden, to align perfectly with the predictable solar seasons.
So they could host the massive trade fairs and the pilgrimage in safe weather.
Exactly. So they manually manipulated the calendar.
Manually. How?
They would periodically insert a 13th month into the year to push the calendar back into alignment with the sun.
Oh, wow.
And that manual adjustment practice is called nasi.
And the Jewish calendar works the same way, right?
Yes, it does.
Because they also add a leap month periodically so that spring festivals like Passover actually stay in the spring.
You've got it. So you have these two completely separate, distinct civilizations living in the Arabian Peninsula.
Right.
And both of them are manually adjusting their calendars, adding months here and there based on their own localized tribal observations of the sun and the moon.
The margin for error there must be massive.
It is massive, but here is the astronomical reality, and it's honestly breathtaking.
Oh, happy.
In the year 622 CE, which is the first year of the Hijri calendar, the accumulated manual shifts from the Arab Nasi system caused a perfect mathematical calendrical collision.
A collision.
Yes. Modern astronomers have actually run the orbital mechanics backward. They can see exactly where the moon and sun were.
That is incredible.
And in late September of 622 CE, the 10th of Muharram for the Arabs and the 10th of Tishrei.
Which is Yom Kippur for the Jews.
Exactly. They fell in the exact same solar week.
That's wild. It's like two giant heavy gears in a clock.
Yeah.
And they are spinning completely independently at different speeds for decades.
Yeah.
And then, for just one fleeting window in human history, the teeth of those gears click into absolute perfect alignment.
That's a beautiful way to visualize it. And we also have to contextualize the Hijazi Jews living in Medina at that moment.
What was unique about them?
Well, they were not following the standardized rabbinic rules coming out of the academies in Babylon.
They were kind of off on their own.
Very isolated. They had adapted to the deep desert. Their traditions were highly localized.
Okay.
So they had actually combined the strict 24-hour fasting element of Yom Kippur with the sweeping culturally dominant narrative of the Exodus and Moses.
Oh, they merged them.
Yes. They merged the history of deliverance with the ritual of atonement.
So the prophet arrives in a new city, and for this brief, mathematically impossible window, the ancient calendars of his people and the Jewish people perfectly overlap.
Right.
It's this incredible moment of shared reality.
It really is.
But, I'm still stuck on the text itself.
The Hadith.
Yeah. If this perfect alignment happened in late September, why does the Hadith say he arrived in Rabi al-Awwal, the third month, but found them fasting in Muharram?
It really comes down to understanding how human beings naturally recount history.
How so?
You're reading the text like it's a time-stamped receipt.
Right, like a literal logbook.
Exactly. But the Arabic phrasing doesn't mean he found them fasting on the literal specific Tuesday afternoon he walked across the city limits of Medina.
That doesn't.
No, it's narrative compression.
Narrative compression.
Yeah.
Like, when someone asked me about my freshman year of college,
Give me an example.
I might say, I moved to New York and it snowed heavily.
Right.
But I didn't mean it snowed the minute I stepped off the plane in August. I just compressed the timeline of settling in and experiencing my first winter into one sentence to convey the vibe of that era of my life.
That is it exactly. He arrived in Medina in the autumn.
Okay.
He spent time settling in, negotiating treaties, just observing the social landscape. And during that same autumn season, this perfect calendrical convergence happened. The phrasing simply means that during his early Medinan settlement, he observed their practice during this unique window.
So it's not an error at all.
No, it actually proves the precise historical accuracy of the encounter.
Wow.
It isn't a confused narrator mixing up seasons or a scribe making a mistake. It was a one-time astronomical reality that the early texts perfectly preserved without even knowing the math behind it.
Alhamdulillah, that clears the fog completely for me. The astronomy literally backs up the text.
It really does.
So the stars align, the shared Abrahamic heritage is established, and the prophet mandates the fast for the Muslims.
He does. He escalates it from a voluntary Meccan custom to a mandatory community obligation in Medina.
It was mandatory.
Yes. For that early period in Medina, fasting on the 10th of Muharram was binding. It was the primary foundational fast for the entire Muslim community.
Wow, I didn't realize it started as a mandatory thing.
It did. But as the community stabilized and grew, the rules surrounding this day had to evolve.
Right, because in the second year of the Hijra, the revelation for Ramadan comes down.
Exactly.
Suddenly, there is a whole month of mandatory fasting.
And at that point, the ruling on Ashura drops down a level.
It goes from mandatory to what we call mustahab.
Right, highly recommended and voluntary.
But I was thinking about this earlier.
What's that?
If Ramadan becomes the sovereign, mandatory fast, why keep Ashura at all? Why not just let it fade into history? We have a whole month now.
Well, because revelation rarely just erases history. It builds on top of it.
Builds on top of it.
Yeah. Think about how Ashura acted for those early Muslims.
I sort of see it like scaffolding.
Scaffolding.
Yeah, like when you're building a massive stone tower, you need wooden scaffolding to train the workers to get the foundation set to build the discipline.
I like that.
For a year, Ashura was that scaffolding. It trained the community in the discipline of fasting.
That's a great way to look at it.
And once the magnificent Tower of Ramadan was built and fully functional, the scaffolding wasn't legally required to hold the structure up anymore.
I love that analogy. You remove the scaffolding from obligation, but you don't burn the wood.
Right.
You leave it as a beautiful, voluntary door to mercy. It honors the past without competing with the present.
That's beautiful.
And the Prophet also introduced the concept of mukhalafa here.
Mukhalafa.
Right.
Which means differentiation, right?
Yes. As the Islamic identity really solidified, he expressed the intention to add the 9th day alongside the 10th.
So fasting 2 days instead of 1.
Exactly. The goal was to honor the shared prophetic legacy of Moses, but to practice it in a way that was structurally distinct from the Jewish fast of Osir.
Building a unique identity while honoring the root.
Precisely.
And even as a voluntary fast, it retains incredible spiritual weight.
Oh, absolutely.
The traditions say that fasting this day expiates the minor sins of the entire previous year.
A huge blessing.
And for decades, it stayed like that. Just a quiet, reflective day of gratitude.
Until the year 61 AH.
Yeah. The year 61 AH, history just takes a brutally dark turn.
It changes the 10th of Muharram forever.
We're talking about the martyrdom of Imam Hussein.
Right, the Prophet's beloved grandson.
He is killed on the plains of Karbala, and it happens exactly on the day of Ashura.
And the trauma of that event is almost impossible to overstate.
It just shattered the community.
Deeply. It deeply polarized the community and fundamentally shifted the gravity of the day.
Because the Shia tradition, understandably, associated the day with profound, overwhelming grief.
Yeah, naturally. The focus shifted to Imsak.
Abstaining from food and drink out of sorrow.
Yes, out of deep sorrow and solidarity with the suffering of the Prophet's family, rather than a ritual celebration of ancient victories. The day became marked by mourning.
And on the complete opposite side of that political fracture, you have the Umayyad state.
Right.
And they realize they have a massive public relations crisis on their hands.
How definitely.
They are implicated in this tragedy, so they basically weaponize the calendar.
They couldn't delete the date from the calendar.
Right, so they try to overwrite it.
It was a very deliberate political project. To distract the public from the tragedy of Karbala, the Umayyads started fabricating hadiths.
Fabricating tradition.
Yes. They promoted Ashura as a day of immense public joy.
Wow.
They pushed narratives telling people to cook special grains, like harissa, to wear kohl in their eyes.
To expand their household spending.
Exactly. They essentially wanted people to treat the 10th of Muharram like a loud, festive carnival.
Just trying to drown out the mourning with forced celebration.
That was the goal.
And, this brings up a really cynical, but I think human concern for me.
What's that?
When politics gets its hands on faith, things get murky incredibly fast.
They do.
If the Umayyads were powerful enough to fabricate all these joyous traditions and just push them into the public sphere to serve their political agenda, how do I know the original story about Moses wasn't also a political fabrication? Like, how do we trust any of these historical texts if the state can just invent them?
That is the exact skepticism that drove early Islamic scholars to develop the science of isnad.
The chains of transmission.
Yes. They didn't just passively accept every story that sounded religious, they audited them.
Audited them.
Yes. Scholars like Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Hajar, they applied uncompromising forensic methodology to these texts.
Walk me through how they actually did that. Because, how do you audit a story from centuries ago?
Well, you don't just look at the text, you investigate the people who passed it down.
Right.
Every hadith comes with a chain of narrators. The early scholars cross-referenced biographies, geographical locations, and birth dates.
Like a detective.
Very much so. If a chain claimed that a narrator in Damascus heard a story from a scholar in Iraq,
Okay.
but the travelogue showed the Damascene narrator never traveled, or the Iraqi scholar died 10 years before the other guy was born.
They threw the hadith out.
Exactly. They exposed the break in the chain.
So they were essentially forensic historians looking for alibis.
Yes, that's exactly what they were doing. And using that rigorous system, they easily identified the Umayyad fabrications about wearing kohl and cooking feasts.
They saw right through it.
They did. They exposed the chains as weak or outright fabricated by known state sympathizers, and they decisively purged them from the authentic sunnah.
And what happened when they applied that same forensic audit to the core story?
The Moses encounter.
Yeah, the Moses encounter, the fasting in Mecca. Did that hold up?
The core story survived easily.
Really?
Yes. The chains of transmission for the Prophet's practice in Mecca and his encounter in Medina rely on multiple independent chains that predate Karbala and the Umayyad dynasty by decades.
Wow.
The reports from Aisha and Ibn Umar about the pre-Islamic fasting are universally authenticated by witnesses who lived long before the political civil wars even started.
So the foundation was already poured and hardened before the political storm ever rolled in.
Beautifully said. The early scholars successfully stripped away the political paint added by later dynasties.
Both the extreme celebratory fabrications and the political overlays.
Exactly. They isolated the original sturdy architecture of the prophetic tradition.
Which is?
It was and remains a quiet, voluntary day of fasting, a day of gratitude for the salvation of Moses, and a day of personal atonement.
You know, it really makes you pause when you look at all the layers we've gone through tonight.
It does.
History is never just a flat timeline in a textbook.
No, it's alive.
If you're listening to this and you plan to observe this fast, or even if you're just thinking about the nature of tradition, look at what it actually took for this single day to reach you.
It required the survival of an ancient Abrahamic rite, preserved purely in the physical actions of a pagan society in Mecca.
It required the exact, mathematically precise orbital alignment of the sun and the moon in the autumn of 622 CE.
Bringing two distinct calendars into a fleeting moment of harmony.
And it required the meticulous, brave preservation of human memory by forensic scholars.
Scholars who refused to let state-sponsored political wars corrupt the original truth.
Next time you observe a tradition, any tradition, just sit in silence for a moment. Ask yourself, how many generations, how many ancient, forgotten languages, and how many celestial alignments had to intersect perfectly for this exact moment of peace to reach me today?
So true.
To rebuild your mental peace and legacy today, give charity, sponsor a student, and plant a tree. May Allah grant the success. Don't forget to Yuki. Come on, let's go. Don't forget to follow this channel, The Missing Dots. Thank you.